Hey guys, so I'm finally going to do a video about Joey. So many questions have been asked about Joelle and Serenity's father and how he's active in her life, what caused us to even break up, because I don't think I even went into full detail about that. It kind of just happened and I was like, poof, here's Rich, guys. So there was no explanation for that at all, which is mostly due to the fact that I have been really slacking on making videos, and that's mostly because I have procrastination issues. Plus I was working like a freaking dog for a long time and things were just so new and different that it was so hard for me to actually sit down and do videos. But a couple of weeks went by and I did that on purpose because I wanted my other video to get views and so, you know, for everyone to catch up. So this video is going to be about Joelle. I want to say really quick, I'm not going to go into very deep specifics as to like if anything crazy was involved or anything like that, only because I'm talking about someone else in this video. If I was talking about just myself, I would be very, very open to telling you guys whatever you want to hear because I'm an open book. And I'm really happy with the person who I am. So I have no reason to cover up anything or, you know, stuff like that. And in this sense, I'm not going to be covering up anything, but I don't want to go into too full details because this is someone else's life I'm talking about. This is a different person I'm talking about, and I'm not someone who likes to slander or shame someone for what they did in the past. You know, everything that happened between me and Joelle is in the past, and that's where I like to keep things in the past. I'm always someone who looks into the future and who likes to keep it moving, keep going, looks for the positives and everything. So I will not be like slandering Joelle or anything in this video because he is a good person. He's just not a good lover to me. Doesn't mean he's not a good lover, period. It just means me and him are just not compatible and we're not able to work. So let me just jump right into it. So me and Joelle, for anyone who's new to my channel and watching this, me and Joelle started dating back when I was 15 years old in 2009. So I was 15 years old. We dated for about, I want to say, a year before I got pregnant the first time. Now, if you want to know what happened to that pregnancy, the link to the story about that pregnancy is down below. And I want to say ahead of time, I apologize for the naivety in that video because I was much younger. I was 17 years old when I made the link video for my first baby and what happened to my first baby. 17 years old. I'm a whole different person now. And the way I talked about things, you can tell that I was 17 years old, so just keep that in mind. Anywho, so I got pregnant the first time with Joelle in 2010, and the baby didn't happen. We didn't have that child. A year later, at 17 years old, me and Joelle were expecting Serenity. Now, at this point, if you want to know about how that all came about and the real deep details for how Serenity came about and all that stuff, the second link to that is in the description box and you can go take a look at my pregnancy story. Again, I say a lot of really funny things that I didn't mean them to be funny in that video, and that's because I was 17 years old and I was young and I was naive and I didn't really fully understand the depths of what my life was to become being pregnant. So anyways, now that you got that whole little recap and the links are down in the description box, after I got pregnant with Serenity, me and Joelle moved in together. Now, we lived with each other for about a year. Throughout our entire relationship, the beginning is always great. You know what I'm saying? When you're with someone for the first time, it's always great. If it's not great, then you kind of have a little problem, and you should probably end things quickly because they will only escalate into getting worse. But in the beginning, for the most part, things are always great between couples, especially when you're a teenager. I feel like teenagers have such an amazing look at love. You know what I'm saying? Like, teenagers see love as something that's positive and bright, and they have so much hope for it. I know I did. I was one of those teenagers that saw love as something that I really wanted. You know, I really wanted to be in love because I watched all these fairy tales and I was a huge Disney fanatic, and you know, you want to be that princess in that castle with that prince charming who sweeps you off your feet and makes you feel like $1,000,000. And in the beginning, that was it. Joelle used to write me love letters, and he used to write me songs, and he used to pick me up from work and drop me off from school, pick me up from school, walk with me everywhere. He was constantly giving me attention because, you know, us girls, we love attention. We need it. We kind of like crave it, at least from our lovers. You know, you definitely want to have some attention from your lover. And I was getting all of that from him and more, to the point where we were a little careless, especially for my first pregnancy. We were very careless in terms of sexual activity. A little quick recap about myself. I have only had 2 boyfriends in my entire life, and my first ever being Joel. I had not dated anyone ever before Joel, and we lasted 6 years, and now I'm dating Rich. And, you know, so I'm not like the relationship expert because I've only dated 2 people in my entire life. So, especially at being 15, I definitely didn't know what I was getting myself into in terms of sexual activity. And, you know, my parents sat me down and did talk to me about this. But, you know, at least for me, I can't speak for all teenagers, but for me, I was that teenager that, no, I want to learn things for myself because I was naive. Looking back now, I just want to like smack myself upside the head and be like, listen to your mom. She's not trying to steer you in the wrong direction. Like, listen to her. But you know how we are as teens and how I was as a teen. I didn't listen to my mom. And in terms of sexual activity, you know, I was too scared to tell her that I was sexually active, which was really foolish because I should have, because, you know, I thought if I told her I was sexually active, she would no longer allow Joel to come to the house by himself with me and him. You know, we wouldn't be able to be alone in rooms together and things like that. And, you know, before me and Joel were even sexually active, that's what was happening, you know. And I don't blame my family. They didn't want me. My family has a history of early pregnancies, you know, young pregnancies. And they wanted to stop the cycle, especially because I'm the only girl that my mom and dad had. So they didn't want to see me fall pregnant young, which happened. But, you know, everything happens for a reason, and I'm a very firm believer in that. So back to my story. At 15, or me and Joel started getting sexually active at 16. And after a couple of months, I found myself pregnant. And I found that it was mostly because we had this crazy notion that, you know, we had a mistake, an oopsie, at one point. We didn't use condoms either in the very beginning because, again, naivety. And so, what was I saying? Right, so, you know, we had an oopsie and I didn't get pregnant. So I was like, huh, maybe that means that I can't get pregnant. Again, this is the mind of a 17-year-old. At 17, you know, you're very naive and young, and I knew nothing about anything. So I just thought that meant that I was fertile. I couldn't have any kids, or infertile, however you say that. I thought I couldn't have any kids. And obviously that wasn't the case. I got pregnant, then that happened. And after my first pregnancy, I found that a lot of things in me and Joel's relationship were kind of taking a downhill spiral. We weren't communicating as well. And, you know, I've come, looking back now, being 22, you know, I'm still young. I'm sure I'm still naive to many things in this world. But looking back now, I have grown as a person from who I was when I first met Joel. And I can now look back and see all the mistakes that I've done and all the warning signs that I should have seen before me and Joel lasted for 5 years. In my honest opinion, we shouldn't have lasted past 3. You know, towards our 2-year mark, when I had gotten pregnant with Serenity, there were so many things that were going wrong that, you know, it just shouldn't have continued. And I'm such a positive person, you know, I always tend to see the light in darkness. I'm one of those stubborn people who refuses to not believe in hope. I always believe in hope, and I always believe that things are going to get better, and I always believe in the good of people. And, you know, that could be a weakness, and it has been a weakness at some point for me. But when me and Joel started going downhill, you know, I didn't see it as something that couldn't be fixed. I'm someone who's very stubborn. I don't like giving up on things that I really put my heart and passion into. So when Joel and me were not working out, I didn't see it as something that, you know, we're not compatible, because we're really not. But I didn't see it as that. I saw it as, you know what, maybe I'm doing something wrong and we should fix it. And I constantly blamed myself for something I had no control over. I had no control over the things that were going wrong in our relationship. You know, just wasn't meant to be. And it was really hard for me, and it took me a long time to realize that not everything is written in stone. Not everything is meant to be. And at 18 and pregnant, I refused to believe that. You know, when I was pregnant with Serenity, I should have wiped my hands and said goodbye to Joel. You know, he's gonna be in my life forever anyways, so, but I refused to give up on us. I refused to give up on my notion of the perfect family. And I do thank myself on one thing. Throughout all the troubles that me and Joel went through, Serenity saw none of that. And thankfully, she was not, we didn't continue this until she was of an age where she can start grasping things and stuff. But regardless of that, me and Joel broke up when she was just past 1 year old, coming up on her 2 year. I want to say I even think she was 2 years old at this point. My memory is a little bit foggy, but I know we lasted 5 years, and me and Rich got together in 2015. So there you go. But any hoodles. So I am thankful for the fact that Serenity didn't see the really hard times that me and Joel went through, because, and I'm not gonna cry, not gonna cry. But you know, Joel changed me as a person. He hurt me in really, really deep ways. And again, this is not to shame him or mock him, and I don't want you guys to think he's like this evil person or whatever. We just weren't compatible, and we were both too stubborn to realize that we should have let something go way earlier than we did let it go. We let it get way too far, and it damaged me like for a really long time as a person, and it damaged how I looked at love, you know, from how I was 17 to how I am now. It's different. And it's always so emotional for me. God, I'm a baby. I apologize, guys. I always get into like these deep emotions, but you know, the things that me and Joel went through really shaped me. And you know, they weren't all damaging. A lot of it really woke me up and made me see things for what they really were. And they made me grow up as a person and realize that my notion of trying to hold on to something that you should let go of is not something that you should be ashamed of. Sometimes it's okay to let go, and it hurts because you don't want to let go, and if you're like me, you're stubborn, you want to just hold on to it and never let go. But sometimes it's so much easier to let go than to hold on and hold all the burdens, you know. But as far as how he is in Serenity's life, I don't want this video to get too long. I'm going to end it at 15, regardless if I stop talking or not. But how he is now in Serenity's life and how we are as people, you know, I forgave Joel for the pain that he put me through. And, you know, we've talked very deeply, and honestly, I forgave him not only for myself so that I can heal myself from within, because you can never grow as a person if you're holding hatred in your heart and if you're holding unforgiveness, you know. It's a hard thing to forgive, especially when you feel like that person doesn't deserve your forgiveness. But trust me, it's the best way to go. You know, it helped me so much in being able to forgive Joel and letting go of what happened with us, because it's no longer happening anymore, and there's no sense in holding it, especially if you want to have a civil relationship with each other. And that's what it all came down to. I forgave him not only for myself, but for my daughter, because she, regardless of what he did to me, does not mark him as a bad person or a bad father. You know, he just wasn't for me. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. Just because someone, when they were in a relationship with you. Now, this is very different towards everyone, you know. If you're, like, someone who almost killed your ex because he beat you to death, that's something different. But, in terms of me and Joel, the things that he did to me, personally, and the fights and arguments that we had, I don't see him as a bad person. I see him as a bad lover for me. He's not good for me at all. He's just not. But for someone else, he has the potential to be something that he wasn't for me. And I really wish that for him. You know, I hope that he finds his happiness and stuff, and I hope he continues to be in Serenity's life, because he's doing really good so far. He's not in her life as much as I would want him to, but it's not necessarily his fault. He's struggling right now in terms of financially and finding himself, and the fact that we live in the most expensive city in the freaking world. New York City. Don't live here, please, guys. So, all those things count up to the fact, but regardless of all the things that he has hindering him, he is trying his best. He is in Serenity's life every single day. He takes her to school every morning. I pick her up every afternoon. Even if he sees her for those split seconds, I think it counts, and I appreciate it. There are times where he will invite me and Serenity to breakfast. We'll have breakfast with him, and we're very civil. We keep it in terms of civil tea. If that's a word. I just made that up. We keep it strictly that. So I'm at 15 minutes. If you guys have any questions for me in terms of that, let me know. But as far as Joel as a parent, now that you know what happened to us, as far as Joel as a parent, he's doing the best he can, and I can't knock him for that. You know, there are things that I wish he would change in himself as a being, but he has to find that himself, and he has to change it for himself. As far as Serenity goes, she is not directly affected by his choices in his life. So as long as that stays like that, I'm 100% on board with Team Daddy Joey. He's doing the best that he can, and he gives me the little bit of money that he can. He tries to help me out anytime that he can, and I can't say that he doesn't help, because he does the best that he can with the limited resources that he has. So that is my video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me or comment below. Message me on Instagram, DM me, anything you want to know, just let me know, and I will be glad to tell you. Thank you guys for watching. If you watched it this long, you're the freaking best. Follow me on Instagram. My Instagram name is The World of Cliche. Have a great one, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video.